Hey, everybody, and welcome to the live launch party today here. My name is Nathan, and I am the marketing manager here at TrueFire. Thank you so much for joining us today for our incredible next level rhythm launch party for Eric Haugen's
Hey,
new
everybody.
course. Eric, how is it going? How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I hope everybody's good out there. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Thanks, everybody who buys my courses. Thanks, everybody who watches my videos. Thanks, TrueFire. Happy to be here.
We are so glad to have you here and across many platforms too. So we're here not only on the TrueFire YouTube, we're on the TrueFire Facebook, on your YouTube, all of that. So folks, feel free to write in your comments. We might feature a few of them while the event goes along. So I just want to introduce you, Eric, and introduce you to all of our followings and chat with you a little bit more. So I'm going to read your bio if you don't mind.
Go
So
ahead.
Eric is an accomplished guitarist and guitar instructor specializing in composition, subtlety, and tone. His published lessons and tablature include traditional guitar heroes, as well as the more obscure players that serve as his strongest influences. Eric's YouTube channel provides a wide array of music lessons for free and updated weekly. He also offers individual guitar instruction virtually. So now that the formal bio is out of the way, Eric, how about
Yeah.
you tell everybody about you and how you got started in guitar and your story?
Well, man, I'm just a dude who likes to play guitar. I like to talk about guitar. I like to talk about music. I think, this thing has been a lifelong friend to me. And I think it comes across in everything I do, with the YouTube videos and the people that I teach. I'm just like, man, this thing's fun. And sure, it can be complicated, but it definitely is, my mission on earth to make it as simple as possible. What we can do with it is really just try and work with a simple vocabulary and see how much we can squeeze out of chord structures, the cage structures, pentatonics as a starting point, and then see what nice sounds we can make. It's really yeah, that's really how I see it.
Very good, very good. So I want to talk a little bit about you. So how did you get your start in guitar? Like what age did you start and how did you know this was something that you always wanted to do?
Thanks for that. Let's see. I started back when I was 13. I come from a musical family, so me playing music is not. It's kind of like going to work in the family gas station. My sister's a classical composer and a teacher. My uncle plays orchestral percussion. And my family was all singers and dancers and artists and then engineers. And so it wasn't, music was always around. It was always around. And it was, the grunge stuff of the 90s that got me really wanted to pick up a guitar. Maybe is my Mustang in the quiver back there? Where's the Mustang? Where is it? It is. There's my trusty 66 Mustang that a lot of people know me for. Kurt Cobain. And yeah, I played in bands all growing up and just continued to do so. And actually, that's where I learned most of the stuff that I talk about and I teach, from learning songs and playing in bands. I did go to music school. I think music school is awesome. Berklee College of Music was a great program.
Very
I'm
good.
very happy for everything that I learned there. I think there's great people there, but it was really actually playing in bands that a lot of this stuff comes from.
Very good. Yeah, I know. I've spoken with a lot of guitarists, and they say just really getting out there and playing live is a great educational tool to grow as a guitar player.
It's true, if you can. I know that's not a reality for a lot of people. Some people find themselves in the unfortunate position of not having people to play with in their immediate community. My advice for those people is jam tracks, looping, recording your own stuff. Nowadays, we have the ability with a laptop and an interface to make just about any sound you could ever possibly imagine, and sounds you can't imagine, with a MIDI controller and your software. And that's a great way to, feel like you're doing something musical, not just spinning your wheels.
Absolutely. That's great. All right. So now I want to discuss with you your series at TrueFire, the Guitar Zen series. And I want to just talk to you a little bit about how it was developed and the thought process that you had for creating this incredible series that so many people love.
And yeah, again, thank you to everybody who buys the series. It's huge for me. It's a huge thing for me. The partnership with TrueFire is a significant part of my, it pays the bill. So I thank all of you for that. Me, I'm a firm believer that if you want to get better, play slower. to really give yourself the time to make all the micro adjustments that you need to make to get every note to come out as good as you possibly can. This is a very easy instrument to squonk a note on. And so I'm always and I guess that's where the Zen thing kind of came across. It's like, let's have a simple vocabulary of these structures and the pentatonics. That's a very primal thing. And let's just keep it as simple as we possibly can. Not try and jam things in there. Just try and keep it just very simple motions, a lot of more about listening than it is about um, impressive things. That's kind of my whole thing.
Understood, and that's amazing. Now, one of the things that I wanted to show everybody, and you and I have talked about this before, when it comes to the Guitar Zen series, is this mountain of understanding, which is a great learning visual that I stumbled upon while obviously looking through your website, and I think this is great. Can you tell people a little bit about this and what they should expect?
Okay, I gotta give a shout out to my buddy Mike Stearns, who handles all the graphic design and a lot of my web maintenance. He has been essential. Mike, thank you to helping me with all the stuff that I can't do, including making this graphic. Because I think it started as I have the sketch somewhere, but the deal was I was talking with you guys, I remember, about like, how do we help people navigate now that you've made so many courses? Like, which one to start when, which one connects to the other one, and things like that. And that's where the analogy of like, well, really, all of my courses kind of are like, a walk in a state park. Like you're gonna see a lot of the same things, but you take this loop and you might get somewhere else. You might see a different vista, see something a different way. You go down this way, you might see, the old bridge or the old mill. Whereas at the end of the day, everything is caged pentatonics and then whatever else we can do with that. So I'm like, it is all a recreational thing, because I also feel that like always I have to put out there, this is supposed to be fun. This is supposed to be just a nice thing that we can do. So I'm like, well, I like to go on hikes. I like to walk around in nature. So that's where that came into play. And if you look at it, you can kind of see the caged. If most of y'all have bought the caged course, that's like the main artery. Everything else is kind of an off branch of that. And so that's why if you haven't taken any of my courses, that is the best seller. That's the most comprehensive, kind of introduces all the other little things that you will see along the way in one thing. Everything else kind of branches off of that main trail. And like we all know what that's like. You go to the place and you're like, but what's the trail? What's the one trail I should take that gets me to the nice viewpoint? And you're like, yeah, it's the caged one.
That's great. So this is actually kind of leads me into a question that we had that was sent in advance. Is what order should a beginner take the courses? Is this something that they can look at to determine the direction that they should go?
Now, you can start with any of them because all of them I make sure that they review the caged thing, that like, there's a C chord, there's a C chord, there's a C chord. Here, let's stand up. There's a C chord, and there's a C chord. And man, I'm really telling you, like every triad, every arpeggio, every inversion, every scale, one way or the other comes down to that. Did you come from him, 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 or him? All the even things like that. That was just two of the positions connecting to each other. So all of them start with a review of that, and then it's like, okay, then you just get to choose. Do you want to be doing the double stoppy? Then you would do the double stop course. If you wanted one that was more about chord progressions, you would do the playing the changes one. But they, like I said, they all are in the same mountain of understanding.
That's great. And I love this thematic for this. I know some people are visual learners, and something like this is definitely great to have. So if you are watching the stream, you can sign up and we can make sure that you can get a copy of the Mountain of Understanding. We will feature it at go.truefire.com/Eric Haugen. We'll make sure that you can download that, and you can also find this on Eric's website. And Eric, if you want to give everybody your website, feel free to do so now.
Yep. My website is erichaugenguitar.com, and you can order the course from my website as well. And yeah, you could this as well as a video of me talking about it is on my website as well. Again, thanks to Mike Stearns for all the website work. It's huge.
That's
It's
great.
huge. You know, nobody does this alone. Nobody can do everything themselves. You really can't.
Now, we actually had a couple questions, and we have a little bit of time in between before our next segment. So I wanted to bring up a couple
I
questions
see
from the
quite a
chat.
few coming in.
I know, it's great. This is a question for you. Which players would be your major influences?
Okay, that is a good question. Someone is saying can we invert my camera because it looks apparently people say I'm showing up left-handed. Is that
Let
possible to
m-
do?
Let me see if I'm able to do that.
I'll let you
Let's
tweak
find out.
that
Sure.
while we talk about that question. That changes a lot. You know, we could go chronologically. Everybody starts with Jimi Hendrix, or not everybody, but you know, I love Hendrix because Hendrix was like the summation of everything that came before him, the electric blues, the R&B, the soul, like that was all in Hendrix. And so that was definitely an early one. But the Venn diagram of my musical taste is classic rock, which encompasses everything. That means classic soul, classic R&B, Motown, you know, classic metal, all that is there. And then, you know, because of just where I grew up, then classic indie entered into it, and that's a significant thing for me. Pixies, you know, Joey Santiago is forever huge for me. That was a very much a game changing guitar player. And then there's actually a lot of indie stuff, Archers of Loaf, Drive Like Jehu, like bands that never really made it much further than the indie community. Where like I don't know what the heck they were doing. And I just leave it at that. There's a lot of great guitar players that I don't even know what they're doing. And I leave it unknown. Then, of course, I went to music school. And interestingly enough, when I went to music school, I thought I was going to study jazz. So I love Wes Montgomery, and then realized I wasn't very good at it. And then so I pivoted into Chet Atkins and Doc Watson and like old timey stuff, Dave Rawlings, Willie Nelson. Like it was an interesting. Oh, see, people are saying I control my camera inversion. Let me see. All right, here we go. Welcome to live.
Welcome to live. I think if you go to settings, Eric, and then you can click video, and then you can switch the camera.
There
There
we
we
go.
go. There we are. Beautiful.
Sorry, everybody. Technology, you know. Hey, but thank you. Thank you, Mohan M, for saying that Eric controls his camera inversion. Now
I
I know
just
that
went
we can
through
do
that.
that.
Thank you, Mohan. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, it's showing up. Wait, no, that is showing up right. Okay. Anyway, yeah. So it's classic rock, classic indie. Is the Venn diagram of the stuff that influenced me. And like my big thing is like I actually tend to like bad guitar players. I love Neil Young. Like I love really brutally simple and strange guitar players. I'm not the biggest fan of excessive technical guitar players. Me personally, that's my taste. Everybody, you know, has their own taste. So I'm never going to tell people what to like or what not to like. That's just me.
Very good. I love it. And I believe everybody has their own way of doing things too. And I
Right?
think
Yeah.
that's incredibly important for any musician because, I mean, that may be the difference between them continuing or them falling off. They just have to do it on their own time.
Yeah, a thing I always say to students if they're chasing something excessively technical and difficult, to just double check that you're doing that because you really love that sound, not because you think that it proves something about your ability. And it's not just guitar players, by the way. All musicians tend to do this. We reach for something that's a little bit far away, a little bit too far and too hard to get to, and sweat and struggle and get frustrated. I'd always rather play a very simple thing with just 100% commitment and intention behind it, which again comes back to, you know, the simple playing that I like. That for me, man, songs are always the number one thing. Is the song cool? If it's a cool song and there happens to be some cool guitar playing on it, wicked awesome, dude. But yeah,
That's
if
amazing.
it's like if it's just a song that's about amazing guitar playing, I'm less likely to listen to it more than once.
Makes sense. We have another question that came in from the chat. This one is from Michael. It says, question, how do you balance practicing all the different elements of actual practice? Chords, scales, triads, arpeggios, etc. How do you break it up?
Good question. Absolutely good question, Mike. I talk about this when I meet with students in real in one-on-one sessions. I break it up like this. I don't know if you can see it. There's also doodles on here, but one side of things is that's weird because it's inverted. Repertoire and analysis. Actual songs, learning actual recorded music, an intro here, a guitar solo here, a chord progression, those type of things from actual songs that are very playable that you come back to again and again and again to work your musicality. But then the other side of things is, it's so confusing when it's flipped, is the theory and the fretboard knowledge, which is the triads, scales, arpeggios, etc. And that is, for me, of course, it's caged is the way I like to sort that out. But in terms of balancing that, I never really kept track of time. I would encourage y'all to remember that this, especially, it's a quiet, portable instrument. I say this all the time. You could just be sitting around, unplugged, watching the Seinfeld reruns like I do every day, and working on things. I do that. I've always done that. Like, that's one of the coolest things about this instrument is its portability and its low volume. So I would encourage you guys to not keep too much track of the time that you practice. I know people want a regimen to, like, this many minutes of this many minutes of this many minutes of that. If that works, great. I never did. I will say this. One of the things that affects motivation and the feeling of progressing more than anything is the thing that we talked about early on. Do you have something to do with all the skills that you accrue? Are you going to join a band? Are you going to jam with your cousin? Are you going to play around in GarageBand? Are you going to make loops and play over them? That will motivate you a lot more than just practice, because it gets lonely. I know it gets lonely to be a guitar player in your guitar room. So I hope that helps.
Yes, absolutely. All right, well, we're going to get to a few more questions in a little while. And what I want to discuss now is the reason why we're here today. We
Okay.
are so thrilled for you to be launching Next Level Rhythm as a part of the Guitar Zen series. So can you tell students and folks who are watching a little bit about this course and how it ties in with the rest of the Guitar Zen series?
Yeah, so I think this one is possibly the best continuation of the caged course. It was like, once that's laid down, you're like, okay, I get it. There's the cage shapes and there's the pentatonics. This one goes the step further. And all my future courses with TrueFire will do this. It starts with intervals, talking about, say you got, I'll make it weird because the thing we're about to play is a D minor. That's a D minor triad. Knowing that the intervals are there and what each of those mean, so that you can actually craft guitar parts based upon that. Knowing that if I hit that open G, that's actually the fourth. And that's the thing I know we're about to play, is realizing that, like, based upon the rhythm pattern, just gotta say hey to Joel. Hey, Joel. I see him there. And Joel is pointing out, my guitar matches your glasses. Well, we're very professional here.
So it's completely all prepped.
But yeah, the course goes into basically the thing with doing a rhythm guitar, right? That's a huge subject. I had to whittle it down into, okay, let's talk about 3 specific progressions, 3 grooves. I talk about that all the time. There's basically mid-tempo rock, halftime rock, and Bo Diddley variants. I'm telling you, every song I've ever transcribed is some way one of those things. And then, so you got the grooves, you got these various progressions, and then we started to throw a couple of different ideas based on the cage shapes and intervals and I think we talk about it in the thing. This is the rough draft. I'm going to hold that up. That's what I call the rhythm guitar matrix. Basically, here, think of it this way. You know, you can either be playing something that is supporting the rhythm section, or you can be combating with the rhythm section. You can be playing something that is bright. You can be playing something that is dark. And like, you know, you can be playing something that is complicated. You can be playing something that is simple. So it's kind of like you're bouncing around inside of here using caged intervals. And I think I put like one of the most complicated thing you could do is actually play a call and response melody. And if you're playing over a song that has a singer, well, then there's the question of what's the actual melody of the song. But yo, for real, this is my brain. That's ta-da. That's what it looks like inside my head when I'm trying to come up with a guitar part. Thinking about that, those things, bright, dark, agreeing with, fighting against. What's the melody? What area of the fretboard do I want to try this idea out on? So for me, it's very interesting. I think very much in those terms first, rather than the theory. The theory always comes after the idea inside. Like, what did I want? What do I hear in my head? And then we use whatever theory we got to try and find it, to try and find the idea.
That's amazing. Well, so what we're going to do now is we're going to actually show a exclusive for the very first time, a free lesson from the course, the 4-5 breakdown. Is there anything that you want to bring up before we jump right into that?
Okay, I believe this one is the halftime feel, and is playing over a progression that has minor chords and major chords. And when I'm saying 4-5, I'm speaking of the interval inside those minor chords. It's something, by the way, you can always do once you know that if you got a D minor here, that once you know where the intervals are, one of the simple things that I can do that will always work. It's never going to be bad. It's never going to be wrong. And I can do that, of course, because it's caged. I can do it elsewhere. I can do it over, let's see, there's a D minor there, there's a D minor there, you know. So that's the way I think of things. I wish I could answer all the questions, by the way. I'm so sorry we won't be able to get to all of them. I see them coming in on that side of the screen.
We will grab as many of those as we can. We actually, so at the very end of right before we break today, we will run a few more of these questions there. We'll get as many as we can. But we're going to show you all right now an exclusive free lesson from Guitar Zen, Next Level Rhythm right here. So let's pull this up.
We're going to drop in here with, I love this version of D minor, just the triad. You know, you could say it's the C shape. And let's see, I'm gonna go. I mean, like, I know that groove is going. That already is super cool, by the way. Just that trick. That right there, I just gotta say, realizing that, again, I love open strings and fretted chords. This is a Carl Longbottom hollow Stratocaster. It's light as a feather. That's why I love to use it. I actually play it all day long here in the Command Central, and that's why I flew down there to Florida with that one. Okay, you can let it play though. The groove going, even though I'm not strumming the chord. That's, again, one of the principles of what we're dealing with in this course. As I previously discussed, I'm looking for that 4. And as previously discussed, I love an open string. So yeah, I'm using the open G to get that 4. Did not resolve it to the 5. Uh-oh, now I want to. Okay, watch, let's see if I can do this trick. I forgot I did that. Again, I've said that before. You can only do that on Fenders or Fender style guitars. Who made this? This is a Carl Longbottom. It's hollow. It's a hollow Strat. That's why you see me using it a lot. It's light as a feather. Good guitar. When you have this straight headstock angle that Fenders. By the way, that T-shirt, the Steely Dan Sonic Youth shirt. Just shout out to FSG Prince. Out of Austin, Texas. They make a lot of hilarious shirts like that. In fact, yeah, they made this can shirt also. Cool, early German psychedelic krautrock band. But yeah, that's where that shirt comes from. Sometimes people ask about that. The blazer is from Banana Republic Factory Outlet Boys. Okay, anyway, let it roll.
Yeah, I feel like I should have been asking, so what were you wearing and what were you feeling at the
I
time?
get emails time to time. Well, again, I watch Seinfeld reruns. I'm like, he's always rocking a blazer. I'm like, okay.
Oh, by the way, we had a question real quick, just very off the side. What's your favorite Seinfeld rerun?
Oh gosh, there's too many. There's just too many. Anything with David Puddy. I mean, yeah. Anything with any of the episodes with David Puddy are my absolute favorite.
Perfect.
Push these strings down to get a full step if you want to. Anyway, that's not in the thing, just cool Fender trick. Looking for a C chord, that's the next chord that's in this, so I'm walking out of that. That's right, I did a 4th fret, a chromatic walk down to this version of C. Here's a C, put a G on the bottom. I previously discussed how much I love this voicing of a chord. Again, it's that low, it's a smaller shape, but it's low and chonky. Where's the 2? So that whole first passage, the D minor I'm doing, chromatic. Where's that 2? Back to the D. Not afraid to just go ahead and let that note interact. Then I know a G chord is coming next. Here's a G right here. There's also one right here, which previously I may have talked about how we have a G over here. The caged D shape. This is a little, okay, sure. It's an inversion. It is, there's the B, there's the G, there's the D. Again, for me, it's just, I think of it as the low side of this hard one that's hard to get to. So I'm going to do a chromatic walk to that. That's what I'm doing for that G, that. But it's weird because, yeah, it's the low side of that. Take a detour and talk about that for a second. So yeah, it's very common with that structure that like you're like, this is so hard to get to, like, ugh, and I absolutely agree. The thing with the cage shapes, they're big shapes, and remember. Oh wait, is my camera the right way? We switched it around. People are saying.
I think it might be the video file itself for the actual lesson might be a little bit different for folks.
All right. That's not my end. But anyway, yeah, you might not play this, but you will play this. And actually, a lot of the alternate, like, and maybe I'll make a. By the way, all these questions, thankfully, they will be saved. And maybe basically thank you for all these questions. These probably will end up being future YouTube videos because this is market research for what people are curious about. So, realize that, that if I don't get to talk about it right now, well, just stay tuned because, yeah, I'll talk about it eventually because I love talking about this stuff. But that, like, yeah, you might not play this, but you might play a D. There's G7, G6, G major 7, sus2, 9, minor 7 flat 5. That it holds all of the information. Here, I can get my mic a little bit closer. I mean, I can goose that a little bit for you. And similarly, like, yeah, you get these other shapes down here. There's a first inversion, gotta be a minor. Basically, yeah, even if you don't like one of the cage shapes, realize that, like, okay, say for example, this C, I always teach this one, which is the G shape. You're like, I'm never gonna do this. You might not do that, but you will do this. Might do this, you might do this, that all the things come from the shape. And that's why if there was a simpler way, I would teach it. I'm not closing my mind to it. Maybe one day someone will be like, have you thought about it this way? And my whole thing might change. But until then, I'm like, caged is really the simplest way. Do we want to keep going with this, or do we want to answer questions?
Yeah, we can take a moment to answer some questions. Why not?
There's just so many questions. I
We have
think
so many that are coming
I
in.
feel like people are going to get bored just watching the walkthrough, because it's, it's not a song they recognize, and that's again
Sure.
with the TrueFire, it would be very expensive to do licensed songs. So we tend to, they tend to be cool little jam tracks or unfinished songs of mine that I'm
Right.
like, I'll go ahead and turn that into a TrueFire lesson. That's where a lot of the, like, my compositions that don't make it onto my records go. Or just, yeah, just,
Might as
yeah,
well use them as a teaching moment for sure.
exactly. Yeah.
We
It's
did
like,
have a.
okay, what do we got?
I was gonna say we had a question came through. Maybe you can touch on the Zen approach and ergonomics, blues grip versus nerd grip,
Let's just
practicing
talk about
smartly.
Yep. And so blues grip versus nerd grip, I like to call it. Like, a lot of us, blues grip is, I think we can hear me, is the angle is like that, where the thumb tends to be over and the fingers come in on an angle. That's great for things like that. However, when you have a chord that is too stretchy, like a major 7, if you try and do this, you're not going to get it. So there are times, basically, when a chord is bigger, like, or an Andy Summers chord. I love Andy Summers so much. He's definitely one of my bigger influences too, because he's so clean and so creative. But yeah, you're not going to be able to do that blues style. So that's the thing I talk about a lot. That there's 2 postures for the left hand, and there's many postures for this hand. Thinking about, how to pick. Well, I can't get close enough to the camera without bumping stuff, but I think a lot about how the pick crosses this way to this way, how it crosses this way, and also how it moves on this axis. I talk about, this is a huge trick. Ready? This is worth the live stream already. If you're doing something that's a lot of strumming this way, I can't. I back the pick to the rounder side. So the pick is, instead of being like that, I'm more on the back side. I think you can see it's really hard to stay in frame with it, to do that. That's a big tip about when you have to do type of strumming, to not get it too tangled in the wires.
Very good.
Questions.
So the next question that we have that I see here is we got this coming in from MW. What do you use for timekeeping when playing at home? Metronome or something more complex like the Beat Buddy?
Okay. Remember, if you're playing, you're probably playing too fast. It's just what we all do. And it's not just guitar players. It's every musician does it. So generally, I don't practice with a metronome. I just play, and then I realize that I'm playing something too fast, and then I pull it back a little bit more, and then I pull it back a little bit more. And because of what I do, I'm playing along with drum machines every week to make all the backing tracks I make, so I'm kind of forced to work with a drum machine. I think it's a very good idea to check in with a metronome from time to time, just to see if you have control over your tempo. Guess what? We're probably all getting ahead of it. We probably almost always are. I wouldn't set it for anything slower than 80. I think 80 BPM is a nice, like, ooh, that's slow. That's not stupid slow. I will say this, the thing I try and do with my grooving, I talk about this with students sometimes when they take lessons. It's really tricky to play with a drum machine and have it be dead in the middle of the beat and not sound overly crisp or tight. It's a very interesting line to toe, to have it feel really relaxed and yet just as in the middle of the beat as you possibly can be. So that's how I try and play. Let's see some more.
All right, very good. We have another question that says, how do you maintain the fine balance of theory and creativity?
Creativity always comes first. Absolutely always comes first. I know that there's a lot of people who get turned off by theory, and that's understandable. That's totally understandable. Creativity always comes first. Do you have an idea in your head? Is there something that's in your head that you want to get out? Theory has always been fun for me. I got to, again, because I come from a family of musicians and dancers and singers. I played trumpet, I think, when I was 8 years old. So I've always been, yeah, there was never a time I couldn't read music. But I recognize that that's not everybody. How do we balance it? I always prioritize the creativity over theory. In fact, I'm going to make a YouTube video about it, that like theory is so fascinating, but you can find yourself going down rabbit holes for weeks at a time and then realize like, I haven't actually played anything. All I've done is mapped out stuff. And I don't think that that's necessarily bad. I just, like I said, it's a balance point. And that's, again, all my videos, all my courses are taking a little theoretical idea, cage shapes, pentatonics, the 4 to the 5, the 2 to the 3, what a sixth is. And then like being like, that's it. Now let's just explore the crap out of that. Let's wander around on that trail and spend a lot of time with that before we add more things. I hope that helps with that one. Let's do another one.
Very good. I have a question that actually came in from email. Let's see. What is your thought on counting the changes or feel the beat and go with that flow? The counting feels a bit artificial and blocks the getting in the pocket.
Yes. So counting, you have to count when you're first learning a tricky rhythm pattern. Let's just say the bow diddley, right? Like you have to do, you're going to have to go, oh, okay, it's down, 2, 3, up, 2, 3, down, 2, 3, 4, down, down. You have to at first. And then you want to, as soon as you get muscle memory, don't think. I do not think and strum complicated rhythms at the same time. But you do have to, when you're learning a pattern. Ooh, do I have something I could share here? Oh, darn. The little tip I was going to give also, if you're working on a tricky passage, this is just my tab for, I was tabbing out the solo to Cherub Rock. If you, none of this is a good example, but anyway, what is like, this is what it looks like when I'm transcribing something. Notice I have lines through the middle of the bar. That's just a detour. Like if you're working on this happens if you're working on Stevie Ray Vaughan or Hendrix or like complicated blues stuff, you got to divide that bar in half and work 2 beats at a time and then put it together. That's just a separate thing there.
Very good. Another question that we had, a setup question. What is your action height at the 12th fret?
Okay, so here's my Stu McDonald string height gauge. I think we're in focus there. Let's see what this is at today at the 12th fret. And I'm using, is this millimeters? Yeah, I'm using metric. Under my high E string, we have 1.5 millimeters under my high E string. And then on my low E string, looks like we got under my low, he's a little bit low actually. Okay, he's a little bit too low on the low side. He's actually sitting at 1.25 on the low side. So that is a little too low. I tend to keep it, like 1.25, 1.5 on the high side, 1.5, 1.75 on the fat side. 10 gauge strings on most guitars. Some of them have 11s. I keep my neck straighter than straight. I just play very, very gently. That's how I mitigate fret buzz and things like that. I use a heavy pick also. I think this has got to be like a 1.14 or something like that. This came with a microphone that I got, but yeah. So I use heavy picks, regular old strings, low action. I just touch very, very gently with the touch.
Very good. We have another question that just came in. It says, hi, I'm trying to get better at legato. My pull-offs are sounding like a slight bend and then a flick. Is that normal?
That's actually, I'm glad that you have that, because that's better than like sometimes people, a pull-off is just, that's a lift-off. A pull-off should be, you should have that sound. little let's see, this is flashing back to my high school years. I don't know where I picked up this, but left hand. Oh wait, again, not a blues angle for doing this. Straightened out. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm reversed. I forgot, a heavy metal buddy of mine showed me this. Move it up. Do it on different strings. Uh-oh. Okay, anyway. Oh, now I have to. But, you know, I'm not the expert on legato. Yeah, I know I'm not the biggest Alan Holdsworth person. So that's my, that's not my department. I'm not an expert on it, but that's my thoughts on that. I'm actually thinking if you have a slight bend and you got to snap out of it, that's better than, like I said, than if you had a lift off, because that's not as strong.
Agreed. Okay. We just had another one that has come in actually from email. And the question was, what's the best way to integrate learning songs or parts of songs into your courses?
Okay. That is a very good question. Again, assuming we have that repertoire that I talked about earlier, you have like songs that you keep coming back to again and again and again, like that you know very well. Those are the things that you can rethink and repopulate with these new ideas that like, but again, it's like, yeah, it has to be typically, if you're going to do an interesting thing to a chord change, it has to spend a long time on that chord. I would never try to adorn or put something on a song where the chords are changing like every 2 beats. It's actually cooler if you have a song where, why am I playing Harry Styles right now? Whatever, that song's a banger. So, if we were doing next level rhythm and we're doing the 4 to the 5, you would be like, well, I could do the F up here. Oh, it has a D minor. Here's a cage C. And I would consider that that was on the low and dark side of things. Just so you know, my brain was working with that. I was like, well, that's dark and that is supportive. That's a minimal dark supportive thing. That would have been all the way over there. Let's see. Yeah. Oh, okay. Let's go twinkly. Twinkly would mean, using my cage knowledge, do an F up here. That would be a more twinkly and slightly more distracting type of guitar part. So you take the simple songs that that have the room to try the ideas out in.
That's amazing. All right, Eric. So I want to before we move on to the final bit, and by the way, folks, if you stay tuned throughout the rest of the stream, we're going to be ending it soon. We're going to be ending with an exclusive not really behind the scenes, but an exclusive bit of bonus footage from the course that will not be released with the course. So stay watching, and you'll be able to see that as the stream ends. But getting back a little bit more to the next level rhythm course through Guitar Zen, what is something that you're wanting students to really feel by the time that they finish this course? Once they start it up, what do you want them to take away from it the most?
Okay, I think that the biggest takeaway is the addition of intervals into the equation. Believe me, I've made some videos on YouTube about this. I'm gonna make them again and again. That once you have the structures down for those chord shapes, then like the intervals is really the thing to get a grasp on. And when you get a feel for that, like the power of, okay, let me pick a different chord, even just to see, and that you really understand what that D means, what that second feels like I feel like that's the thing I'm going to try and get across more and more in this next season of my teaching, is how important intervals are. Because if you feel the interval, it makes it so you don't have to do all that to make something happen. It means you can just go touch that note and just realize like the power that has.
Very good. All right. So if you want to right now, for our followers that are following here on the TrueFire side, and for your own, let people know how they can purchase the course, how they can follow you, and if they have more questions for you, how they can reach out.
Okay, again, thank you everybody who's bought my courses, who watches my YouTube videos. It's not lost on me how important your patronage is. Eric Haugen Guitar is my website. The links to the courses are there. Those are the affiliate links. I make a greater percentage of the profits that way. My Instagram is Eric Haugen Guitar. My YouTube is Eric Haugen Guitar. My TikTok is Eric Haugen Guitar. My name is Eric Haugen Guitar. Eric Haugen Guitar. Eric Haugen Guitar. It doesn't even sound like words anymore when I say it, but yeah, that's my business, man.
That's amazing. Well, we are honored to have you as a part of the TrueFire family and with the entire Guitar Zen series. It is absolutely incredible, and our folks really, really love it. So once again, head on over to Eric's website. You can also go on TrueFire and get the course as well. Completely up to you. We are thrilled. So what's coming up next for Eric? What do you have going on in your life that our folks should know about?
Let's see. I'm always chipping away on collabs and working on various projects, little recording projects. And honestly, I spend a lot of time trying to make the best YouTube videos I possibly can. So there's always stuff going on there. I think on YouTube you'll see this week I'm doing some more acoustic stuff, some stuff about, again, open position pentatonics, chromatics, cross picking. There's going to be some stones in there. And yeah, yeah, that's what I do. I think about guitar, I play guitar, I record guitar. So there's always going to be stuff happening.
That's great. And now when it comes to like when you're developing your YouTube videos and you're developing the kinds of lessons that you want to teach there, aside from just things that maybe come up or questions you get asked, how do you structure what you want to teach? Like, where do you get these ideas from? Is it just come to you in the middle of the night? Like, where do you get it?
Anywhere. Sometimes they happen during a lesson. I have Post-its everywhere. We have all these questions here, so there's a lot of stuff. Yeah, it's just random. It's just random. Whatever comes up is that's the nature of YouTube. YouTube versus TrueFire. TrueFire obviously lets me just spread out and really just spend as long as I want on a subject. With YouTube, it's a little bit different, of course, because we're trying to just provide something quick that can change somebody's life very quickly, very easily. And sometimes you hit it right, sometimes you don't. But that's the nature of content creation, is you just do stuff that you're like, this is kind of neat. I think this is cool. Anyway, I'll film a video about it. That's how I tend to think of it. Like whatever random thought I had, whenever it comes to me, goes, oh, okay, I'll make a video about that next.
That's the beauty of creativity. When it comes to you, you can
just
do your own thing and create it. Yeah, that's what you said earlier. Is pay more attention to the creativity right off the bat instead of just worrying about all the technical stuff. So,
yeah.
Eric, I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for taking the time. And we are now live. So, Guitar Zen Next Level Rhythm is now live. So, if you did pre-order the course should be in your account now under My Courses on TrueFire. So you can go in and you can start learning with Next Level Rhythm. So what we're going to do now, Eric, thank you once again for being here. We're going to show the bonus footage from the course that will not be released with the course. So if you are here right now, you're going to get to see that. There's an 8-minute clip coming up. Once again, feel free to follow TrueFire across all of our platforms, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, at TrueFire TV on many of those platforms. Follow us there. And you can also get a 14-day free trial of All Access if you have never been a TrueFire member before. So go in, sign up today, and see these amazing courses by Eric. We appreciate you being here. Your courses are amazing, and we cannot wait for the new ones coming out down the line. And we'll be able to tease those too down as we go. Should
I tell people what they are? I'll tell them. Yeah, we got a modes is coming next. I know that we have some. We shot some stuff about modes, so there's going to be a deep dive course with modes, and you can bet it's going to cover you know, again, it will fit in the same Mountain of Understanding graphic, the same, you know, state park. And should I introduce this, what the bonus footage is? Because it is kind of a special one.
Yeah, absolutely. Feel free.
Okay, so I remember the bonus footage when I was prepping for the course, and you know, this is HQ back here. You could kind of tell by all the guitars. And when I was prepping, you know, making etudes and tabbing stuff out, I ended up doing like a solo or like a rhythm passage over the changes from the end of Pearl Jam's Black. Like I said, 90s kid. And I think that we shot it, and I was like, I don't know. I remember Tommy Jammins, the production director, manager down there, and he's like, well, maybe we'll just make this bonus footage. So what you're going to see is me doing something with the changes from Pearl Jam's Black. What a great song, man. Oh, Pearl Jam 10. Yeah, that's a great record.
That's great. All right, well, here we go, folks. This is your exclusive look at the bonus footage from Next Level Rhythm. Once again, thank you all for being here. We hope you enjoy the rest of this footage, and we'll see you next time here on the TrueFire YouTube, on Eric's YouTube. Thank you all so much for tuning in.
Thank you so much. The really cool thing about this progression is E minor, 2, 3, 4, D, 2, 3, 4, C, 2, 3, 4. 3-bar loop. That's weird to do that. Usually stuff moves in 4-bar loops. And those chords are actually changing on the 4th beat. E minor, 2, 3, 4, D, 2, 3, 4, C, 2, 3, 4, E, which you know, for this thing that's kind of a lead part, it's kind of a rhythm part, I had to be keenly aware of that when I constructed the thing. So I'm hitting that change every time, which, you know, it's a cool thing to do. So we're dropping in there on a C, down to this 5th fret, 4th fret, that's a G to an F sharp. Because, yeah, I'm dropping in on the part of the progression that's on a C. There's a C chord, that's a cage shape. I have courses about it. So I'm dropping in there on that C, landing on that E minor. And I've said this before, whenever I have anything that's a halfway interesting idea, I'm just gonna repeat it until I've exhausted it. I don't just move on and go look for something else. I'm like, well, that's cool. Let me see what more I can get out of that. So I start. And because I'm on an E minor now, I'm gonna hit a B here. Because here's an E minor. These are cage shapes. I have a course about it. 7, 5, 4. So I'm going to tag this B now and still do the same walk down, but just to be a little bit interesting, you can always kind of change the ending of your idea. Instead, I ended it there that time. I was like, oh, I'm liking where this is going. I keep changing the last note. So now it's on a D. Well, that kind of works because there's the D chord. I do the idea one more time, getting this 9th fret tone, which is, yeah, a note from E minor. And also I know that on a C, it's a major 7, which creates a lot of friction at that moment. So that opening. And I bend it around. And then just a giant E, and I dip the bar and put it back up, but I'm not going to dip the bar right now, because if I dipped the bar right now, it's going to throw this guitar out of tune. It actually is. Yeah, they do that. So dip the bar for the E minor, just let it hang. I love letting things just hang, just leave things alone, especially a bar dip is like, okay, let's dip the bar. You know, that's an effect. That's absolutely an effect. I won't be so out of tune that you'll notice, but yeah. Then I grab the D chord here. This is one of my pet voicings of chords. If this is a D, here's the next one. You can put the A in the bottom. So I hit the D, and then I just heard this little different melody. But those are still like notes from E minor. And then you're on a D. Here comes an E minor up here. Do a little muty. Pentatonic double stops on that E minor there. Those I call flatties, because if here's E minor, here's E minor pentatonic there, here it is here. Caged. I'm just gonna go slidey flatties. I like that sound. And then still thinking E minor. So still thinking this one. So I'm grabbing this part of the E minor, hammering on very carefully this 10th fret. That is, you know, in relation to that. That is an A, that's a 4th. And then, but being aware that that's all the time I got. That's a D. That's a way to play a D chord, because here's a D, here's a D, here's a D, here's a D, here's a D. That 7th fret and that 10th fret. Then did a nice little kind of, really that's like a twangy pedal steel lick on that D. 10th fret, bend this one up. That's all we got time for, because now we got a C. I'm playing that 9th fret note, that's an E, check it out. There's a C chord. Walk up an E minor scale from there. 7, 8, 10, and then, yeah, just doing drony stuff with this high E. But notice, I am keenly aware of that weird accent in the groove. You can see what I'm doing there. Just let them off so that I can then get really dramatic now. I love being able to get an open string in with something really high. It just makes it really just painful and dramatic and stabby. 16 and 15, but check it, that's an E minor chord. Here's E minor, here's the next one up. Caged, that's a cage shape, that's a D-shaped E minor, but I'm gonna leave that open in the middle. Looking for a D. Because look, all the way up at 14, 14, there's a D chord. 15, sorry, 12 and 15 on the C. Yeah, implying that major 7 there. I could have done this, but more dramatic. So, move it forward. Now I'm just kind of getting, this is just full, just going high, basically. C, you know, that's out of E minor pentatonic. That's the D and the A, all the way up here. And because on Fenders, or at least this Fender, it's not exactly a Fender, well, it's a Carl Longbottom guitars. British dude made this, it's a hollow Strat. You know, your intonation gets pretty squirrely that high up, so you're really gonna wiggle it. You know, to get that thing to be okay, because wait, purely? Yeah, I can hear that lower tone. Is what you're looking for, so yeah, that's why you tend to just